everybody. Welcome to the Alex Cuesta Show. How is everybody doing on this Thursday, April 21st, 2022? I am here with my brother, as always, as on the Alex Cuesta Show. David, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm relaxing in my gin bay right now, and I'm hoping to have just a good show. I don't know how long it's going to be, but it's a good show.
I'm happy that David brought it up, and he knew I was going to bring up that he was wearing his jinbei, so he just beat me to it. For those of you that don't know what it is, go look it up. It is a Asian male onesie pajama, essentially, where you kind of just look like, I guess it's like samurai go to sleep garb. Dave, is that the best? How would you describe a jinbei?
I feel like that's fine. I feel like that's a fine description. It's just nice, relaxing pajamas, very loose fitting.
Here's the question that all the ladies want to know. You free balling under there, Dave?
No.
The ladies are disappointed as usual when it comes to you, David. Anyway, before we get going on anything fun, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes, spread this word of mouth, and go find us on social media, The Alex Cuesta Show. Now, for those keeping score at home, it has been a fucking long time since I've done a show. I was very semi-consistent in doing the dailies, very consistent early, semi-consistent. And I found that there's some factors going into why shows have been, I guess, lacking. One, having a family is fun. We've been sick for like 3 weeks, battling illness. Kids have been going crazy. So it's been tough to get down here. I record the shows in the evening, so it's been tough to get down at a reasonable time. On top of that, we are potty training. My going to be 2-year-old and cleaning up piss and shit from the floor all day is not always fun, even though she's finally getting it, which is hooray moments. Also, we are on top of that putting her in her first quote unquote big girl bed, which does not go well if you record in the evenings because they don't like sleeping outside of their crib and they get out and they yell and they scream. So just to not be a dickhead of a husband, I like to help my wife to put my children to bed. And that causes me to be up later than I want to. And then I get lazy because I'm laying on the couch and I'm like, yeah, by the time I'm done recording and so it just steamrolls, I guess. So I will try to be better. I will attempt to go on. And on top of that, I mentioned this to Dave. There have just been days where I am reading a ton of articles. I am just looking at things and I have absolutely nothing to say about things that are going on in the world. And and I go and I'll scroll through Twitter, and on my Twitter, I follow quite literally everyone. I follow all sorts of sports teams. I follow people on the left, people on the right. I follow a shit ton of Antifa pages. Like I follow everything. So I see a boatload of everything. And sometimes there's nothing out there. I have nothing to say. And I'm not going to come out and force things and be like your 24/7 news networks where they have nothing to say 80% of the time, nothing new to say. And every show you watch is just a rehash and a semi-different opinion of what was said on the next show. Or, I'm just not going to come here and force things. So I'm still going to call my show a daily show because in essence, my Alex Cuesta Daily Show is supposed to be daily. But at the same time, I'm not just going to go and force topics and make it a shitty product. So I hope that doesn't lose me from some viewers or listeners, but if it does, it does. Dave, on top of that, anything new going on with you since we last spoke? How's life? How's everything going on? Anything to note?
Nah, I've just been chilling, man. Just working out, and that's about it.
You're beating me to the punch with both of those because since being sick, working out has been lacking and working has been lacking for a long time. So thanks, Joe Biden. Good union guy right here looking for work. Thanks, bro. I thought you were a union guy, but living in the great state of New York with President Biden as president is really thanks, big old blue wave bastards, for really looking out. Anyway, we're going to jump right into the show. I am going to do the Biden COVID tracker. I'm not going to give you any plus minus because it's been just that damn long. You can go back and do the math. I'll give you the last day that I gave the COVID tracker, which was the 12th of April. And that had cases at 80,396,250, deaths at 985,504. As of today on the 21st, we are sitting at 80,732,932. So quick math, around, what is that? 400,000 more about cases. It looks like that's a lot, but still over that stretch. What is that? 9 days. It's a little bit of a bump, but it's not incredible, not compared to what we did see at the height. And in terms of deaths, 989,331. That number is about 4,000 more. So in terms of deaths, it's really over a 9-day span. 4,000 is not incredible. So again, like I said, we are sitting at endemic levels. They refuse to give up power. If this doesn't tell you everything you need to know about what the left and the leftists stand for right now, when we are sitting at an endemic level and everyone essentially is acknowledging that this pandemic is over, what do we keep hearing? Oh, watch out for BA2. It's more aggressive. Watch out for this variant. Watch out for that. We are seeing spikes and bring back masks and all this other dumb shit. So just be wary and be smart. And if you're on the left, get off of it and stop being stupid. Anyway, we're going to jump into the show. And as always, when me and David do a show together, he decides all the topics because I'm a moron. Obviously, I can't decide fucking topics on my own. I don't do shows regularly, but we're going to jump into some fun. We're going to first start off talking about Florida. Dave, the hell are we still doing? Well, you are semi-South. Are you considered the South in Virginia?
Depends on who you ask. If you ask our sister, yes.
I mean,
anything below the Mason-Dixon line is south to her.
Yeah, I mean, anything south of New Jersey is south to our sister. Even Delaware, she hates it all. But I guess I'd argue if you're in Northern Virginia, you're not the South. And if you're in Southern Virginia, you're basically the South. Northern Virginia likes to pretend they're Northeasterners because of DC and everything.
They really basically are, honestly. Nova is a bunch of Northeasterners. There's really not much of a difference.
So I guess that's it. So really the line of demarcation should be like somewhere in the middle of Virginia, I guess, or splitting up the northern part of Virginia for the rest of it. I feel like they need to move the Mason-Dixon. That would be appropriate.
If they want to.
Move the Mason-Dixon line. But we are talking about Florida because Florida has easily become, under the governance of Ron DeSantis as the governor, easily become the most based state in the country. And that's not even a question. The things that they have done lately, Dave, to me, it really seems that Ron DeSantis has started his presidential bid now. He is trying to convince the voters that he has the executive experience right now and also the balls to just take on the left, fight for the ideals that people on the right want to see, and really try to push them through and put them into action. What do you see coming from Florida, Dave, from DeSantis? And recently, I guess we should talk about what he did recently with Disney. They went ahead and with his leadership, they have stripped Disney essentially of their self-governance power, along with some tax breaks and things that they've had because of them fighting against the parental rights in education, the terribly nicknamed Don't Say Gay bill. So, Dave, what's your opinion? What's going on in Florida?
I like it. I like, the thing is that a lot of people, especially a bunch of milquetoast conservatives, will go ahead and say, hey, maybe that's using governance a little too far. I actually disagree completely, mainly because Disney is actively trying to pushing on state legislation, and that no company should have the power to even try to do that. We've gotten a little bit too lax in believing that companies should just be able to push for whatever legislation they want. And it's good to see someone actually saying, no, you're not allowed to do this. And Disney has been granted a lot of privilege in Florida. Granted, they do bring a ton of money to Florida. People come to Florida specifically for Disney. But the thing is that if you're not going to at least go with what the state kind of wants, then you don't get those privileges anymore. I don't see a problem with a state deciding that. And it's not just Ron DeSantis that's deciding that. He's not just putting across a decree. No, the legislation passed it. It's actually going to DeSantis' desk now. So it's not all the way through, but it's fully passed, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it is.
So it's not just him making some sort of decree and deciding, oh, Disney is not allowed to get all these privileges anymore. They're not allowed to be exempt from so many things and basically have their own government in Florida. No, you're not allowed to do that anymore if you're actually just going to completely push back about what we want to do in our state.
And I think on top of that, I feel like with the battle that they're choosing to wage is a reasoning to kind of really push back against them, because even, places like Fox News and quote unquote right websites are saying they're fighting back against a controversial parental rights and education bill. There is nothing controversial about this bill. It is a reasonable bill that is, I think, doing too little to protect kids in terms of being groomed into being sexually confused and mentally abused by teachers and by people that are supposed to be educating them. So the fact that they are choosing this bill to push back against, it is something that they deserve backlash from. And I think another thing goes to it when you talk to the milquetoast conservatives and people on the right, they're saying this is, not a tactic we use, going against private companies. Most private companies don't have the special privileges that Disney was granted. So it's kind of your giveth, you get taketh away, and now you become a regular company. So it's not like they just decompanied them. They just took away special privileges.
Yeah, and it's not even going against private companies. I've seen as much of an argument as I have. It's like, oh, it's revenge politics. And it's not revenge politics when someone is actively pushing on a policy you're trying to pass and make something happen there. It's not revenge politics anymore. It would be revenge politics if they just said something. No, they're not just saying something. They're actively lobbying and actively putting out basically what is a misinformation campaign on the bill.
And on top of that, I think we're all missing the point. And I haven't seen this. Maybe some commentators have said this. Their main demographic in Disney is fucking kids in the exact ages that are being, you could have cut off at fucking kids, and that would actually be pretty relevant. Yes, but in more or less, but it's in the exact ages that the bill is trying to protect.
Yes.
Yeah, I know you're just, but
well, it's mainly for families. They're mainly for families. And yes, those kids in those ages.
Yeah. So they're lobbying against protecting their main demographic, which is disgusting. It is. And again, here's the deal. This is kind of becoming a non-starter for me. If you are against a parental rights and education bill, if you haven't read it and you're just coming out and saying, don't say gay, you're an idiot. One, you're a sheeple and you're a moron. If you have read it and you still have a problem with it, we can probably not have any middle ground. That is where the conversation will end unless you educate yourself. And if you firmly believe this, I don't know if I can be friends with you. This is beyond politics, because this is, you are choosing to actively support grooming, to actively support basically a bridge to pedophilia. That is where this all goes to. So I cannot stand by and sit there. And I've seen a bunch of educators that I'm friends with because I was on the track for education many moons ago. And I am still friends with a lot of educators that I had in my high school and stuff like that. And to just see them post shit about this makes me question everything about them.
So I think the biggest issue here is that we're mainly people, and I know we've talked about this before, but mainly people do not follow politics in any sense of way. And they just kind of go by headlines, and they just basically go off of whatever they see on social media, and they plant their flag right there. And that's why you'll see people just still calling it the Don't Say Gay bill, unless they actively know what they're doing when they do it. But most of the people that will say that probably have no idea what they're actively fighting for when they're making that argument. They have no idea about the plethora of cases in states like Texas, where kids are basically being, wow, I cannot remember the word. We're basically being not only groomed, but they're actively being abused because I hate to go too much into cases, but just there have been cases where teachers basically pick out kids that are maybe searching a little something different, and they're not even trying to sexually abuse them, but they are trying to make sure that they're mindset goes to whatever the teacher's ideology wants them to be. So I don't want to go too much farther into this. It was just a quick thing on Florida.
Yeah.
Based Florida man is doing well. I think he's doing well. Based Florida judge, what was her last name? Mizell.
35 years old, too.
35 years old.
Fucking awesome.
Great job. Great job getting the mask mandate off the airplanes. So I think Florida is doing very well.
Yes.
Obviously, I don't live there, so I'm not entirely certain, but
quickly before we jump to the next topic, I just want to remind everybody on episode 41, my daily show, I recorded it. I released it on March 23rd. You can say gay in the Florida's parental rights for education bill. I read the 7-page bill on the podcast. I skipped about 2.5 pages because it was an abstract. So it's essentially maybe 5 pages of a bill. And it's not legal jargon. It is not hard to read. I read it. If you were too lazy to read it, go back to the episode 41, Alex West, The Daily Show. Go listen. It is not a difficult bill. It is not a difficult bill to read. It is not a difficult bill to digest. So if you are still ignorant as to what the bill says, please go and Brian Stelter's least favorite words, do your own homework on this. And it is quite literally going to read the bill that was passed. All right. So let's move on from this. Dave, this is a topic you wanted to talk about, and it has less to do with the actual base topic and more to do with kind of like the surrounding, I guess, points, the surrounding lessons, in essence, that come from it.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a specific point of emphasis I kind of want to hit on with this topic. Mainly, I want to talk about the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial. Now, for those of you who don't know, Johnny Depp is suing Amber Heard for defamation, I believe specifically off of an article she wrote in 2018. You can go ahead and read the article yourself.
Yeah, the Washington Post.
I'm not going to go ahead and bore you and read it here. But the trial has been going on. There's been some highlights of funny moments, I will not lie. And I highly recommend, if you do want to see clips of the trial, or if you even want to see long form, believe me, it is long form. They're like 8-hour days. I would go to Rakita Law. Legal Bites has also been doing long form following of the trial. And they both usually have panels of lawyers watching along, so you could actually get some.
I want to say really quick, shout out to Law YouTube for stepping up as much as they did. And I think this has really started. The George Floyd trial kind of broke Law YouTube.
Rittenhouse.
Yeah, Rittenhouse. Sorry. Rittenhouse really broke Law YouTube up. And Law YouTube is fantastic because it really, you get a bunch of really smart people, not to be using the James Lindsay way, but legitimately really smart people that are sitting there, and as you're listening to a trial, they're kind of giving you the play-by-play and explaining to you what the significance of certain things happening in real time. So it's not confusing when a big thing happens, then you read an article and you're trying to figure out why the fuck they're saying this is big. You're seeing it in real time with a bunch of pretty good people that know the laws and things that go on. So I recommend, David said Rakita Law and stuff like that. Viva Fry and Robert Barnes, Viva and Barnes is another good one where they talk about the law stuff as well. But Dave, continue. I just want to give a shout out to Law YouTube because it's been awesome for us common folk.
Oh yeah, no problem. I just think it's funny as well.
Yeah,
most of them there's some pretty funny people. They have good banter, and they also are pretty informative, especially while watching the trial with them. But in this trial, it's basically Amber Heard 6 years ago, I want to say, came out basically saying that Johnny Depp domestically abused her, and that's why she was filing for divorce. And during that time period, after she came out and made that accusation, Johnny Depp basically lost all the roles he had. I know, especially in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, I believe he was Grindelwald, right? I didn't watch the movies. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, he was released basically at the end of the first movie. I watched. It's a forgettable series. I'm not gonna lie. Fantastic Beasts is a terrible, terrible addition to the Harry Potter world. But it is terrible, and it sucks because Eddie Redmayne's a good actor. Colin Farrell was in the first one. I love Colin Farrell. Johnny Depp gets kind of revealed in the end. Spoiler alert! It's not a spoiler. It's a terrible movie and a terrible series. But Yeah, he was supposed to be a main character and a huge main villain that's going to kind of carry. And he was supposed to be big in the newest one about the secrets of Dumbledore. He was supposed to be very important. Continue.
Yes. But so anyway, he lost things because of it. And you could say, all right, accusation. And it was some terrible accusations, but Depp really didn't get much time to provide evidence on his own. Now, during the time period between then and now, honestly, a lot of stuff's already come out, but even more new stuff has come out during this trial. I will recommend yet again to look into the specifically videos of what's going on in the trial. Don't just trust whatever someone is saying to you about it, because it could be biased in any direction. For me, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm completely on Johnny Depp's side based off of audio evidence, based off of photo evidence, based off of just timing of things that have happened. Amber Heard honestly seems like a terrible person and seems like very much seems like an abusive person. That's kind of the point of emphasis I want to get here, is that when it comes to relationships and when it comes to actually dealing with people, certain things could happen, like with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. You really want to set yourself and how you want yourself to be treated, because off of things that we've heard in audio recordings in this trial, Amber Heard completely admits to hitting him. In fact, in one of the audio recordings, you could hear her, you can hear him say, I didn't like that you punched me. She then specifically says, I didn't punch you. I hit you. It wasn't a punch. He says, don't tell me what a punch is. I know what a punch is. She then goes on to say, oh, yeah, you've been in so many fights.
Such a fucking baby.
You're such a baby. I only hit you. And other such things. I mean, she's throwing glass bottles at him and then basically said, oh, yeah. Oh, but you knocked on the door. You knocked on the door. And that's basically why. And it's gone back and forth. And it almost seems like in every battle, Johnny Depp, yet again in audio, said he'll run away to the bathroom. She'll go crazy on the door. He'll come back out, fight again. He'll run away to the bathroom. She'll want to fight again. So there was an interesting audio, Dave, where he was kind of talking about it like as a boxing match, where you need breaks in between boxing matches. You don't just go, there's 12 rounds for a reason. And then when things get too bad, the official stops the fight. And he's like basically saying, like, I'm using those as my break between a boxing match. And it's hard to watch sometimes. When you're watching it, it is hard to watch Johnny Depp's kind of stoic reaction as he's reliving some of the shit that's going on in the audio. Yeah. And there's more. There's more evidence of why I think Amber Heard has been awful as a person. Yet again, go look it up yourself. It's all out there. Trust me. But main topic I want to get on is you don't ever want to be like Johnny Depp. Let's say
whether you're a male or female.
Yeah. But this is on the foundation of what I believe is true, that Amber Heard is emotionally manipulating him. You do not ever want to be like Johnny Depp and be emotionally manipulated by someone. So what has happened that seems like in this relationship is that you don't want someone to ever come into your life. When they come in, they're a very good person. They're a nurturing person. They're a soothing person. You fall in love with them. But every time there's an argument, they either actually hit you and they actually abuse you, like physically abuse you, or they mentally abuse you. This could be, I know a term that gets thrown around, but this could be like gaslighting, or this could be in any type of way, just actively putting you down. That's another form of abuse. People might not take it like that, but if you are consistently putting someone down, that's going to weigh heavily on their mental. Go ahead.
Now, Dave, I have a question, because I think this is something specifically in American culture. You hear comedians make jokes and talk about how women are mental ninjas towards their significant others, how they put things in their back burner, how they keep them there because they know that they could say things to hurt their significant other in the heat of if it's like a legitimate argument. And we see, women make jokes about it. Like, oh, I'm losing the fight. I'm going to throw this out. And it's things that they know are going to mentally hurt their significant other, that is going to kind of shift the battle into a different way, that they know is going to make their significant other go off the handle. And again, it happens with men too. Men definitely physically and mentally abuse women, but I feel like it's very frowned upon for men to do. And it is terrible. And, everyone is on the woman's side, like, get the fuck out of that relationship. There is no excuse to stay in it, get out. But when it's happening, but my CDs are in the car. I can't leave all those CDs, Dane Cook. Sorry. But when it's happening to a guy, it's kind of, there's the joke that goes with it. It's like, it's just like, you're exactly like your father. That type of thing that they know is going to eat at a guy. And there's whole things, and not to bring up TikTok, because TikTok is another cesspool, but there is a lot of things on TikTok where it's kind of like women talking to other women about stopping doing this shit. And, it's women basically telling other women what they do and why their guys eventually shut down on them, and why they become emotionally unavailable, and why they stop giving a fuck about them. And it goes along the lines of what you're saying with the strong mental abuse. And I feel like it's a culturally accepted thing in America, that it's expected for men to just sit there and just take it, and take any sort of abuse that comes from a woman, whether it's physical, whether it's mental. And, we both listen to It's Slightly Offensive, You Are Here. I know Elijah Schaffer is big on the type of things that men have it more difficult than women in American society, significantly more difficult. And he goes on diatribes about it. And, as a man, we obviously agree probably with him, but it's interesting how they kind of fold into what you're saying in terms of relationships here.
Well, it's funny enough you bring that up. There's actually a clip that went around on Twitter very recently of Jada Pinkett Smith in the Red Table. I think I shared it with you. She had, I guess, on her show or whatever the hell it is, she has her daughter and her mother on there at all times with her. But they had Wale on and someone else. I don't know who the other person was. I'm not going to lie. Well, it's just a short clip, and Wale is basically saying, like, it's an issue because some people, some significant others, they find your buttons and they push your buttons, and they actively try to push your buttons, and they keep trying to do it, even when you tell them not to. And then he says, like, it's a bad thing, obviously a bad thing. Jada Pinkett Smith and basically everyone at the table stops him and says, whoa, 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 it's not a bad thing. If someone is pushing your buttons, you have to look at yourself and ask why those buttons are being pushed and why it harms you so much. Actively, the words of an abuser. If you want to disagree with me with that, you can. I'm going to tell you that you're wrong every single time, because there is a difference between ribbing and banter. And that's the thing about those jokes. Most of the time, whenever I hear like those jokes, either from male comedian or female comedian, I take it, listen, in marriage and relationships and any kind of couples, there's ribbing and banter that really should happen. It's healthy. It is healthy to make jokes and make fun of each other. But there's a difference between doing that and pushing someone's buttons. When you push someone's buttons, you're trying to get them angry. You're trying to get them to feel bad or feel angry about something. If you're trying to get someone to get in that kind of emotional state, you are trying to hurt them. And you might even be trying to get them to do something to you. And even that's even worse. That is an even worse thing. But just doing that to someone and putting them in that state just because it's fun for you is abusive. It is a behavior that should not happen and should never be excused.
And the fact that Jada Pinkett Smith still has a platform after what she did to Will Smith on that very platform, revealing that she is a cheating, fucking terrible human, and talking about how big his dick was to her husband on the thing, just talking about how big it was and how great it felt, just goes to show that Will Smith probably was in an abusive relationship with Jada Pinkett Smith long before that ever happened. Because for him to just sit there and accept it and to not say, he really didn't say anything to that. I went back and watched that recently because it showed up again. He just kind of sat there and was like, wow. And it kind of looked like Will Smith became actor Will Smith for a second and just kind of took himself out of there and started kind of acting because he put on that kind of voice that you get when you hear him kind of like, it didn't seem like Will Smith was there anymore. But that's kind of what people in abusive relationships do to cope. They go out of body. So until it's over. And again, you talked about the red flags and like getting out of things like that. And it has to be hard, Dave. Like, I can't imagine how difficult it is. And, we discussed a little before this, because I have not been following the trial as much as you have. This is more of your thing in this. But I flat out ask you, do you think Johnny Depp loved Amber Heard, or was he just too afraid? And you flat out said, yes, he loved her and probably still loves her. There is probably still a part of her that he remembers and still loves. It's difficult because, like you said, they will do the abuse, and then they will also become the comforting person that you remember to reel you back in post the abuse. So yeah, Dave, go ahead. Sorry, I kind of stole your thunder there.
No, it's completely fine. There's so much to go on about this. And like we said before, it is for both men and women.
Yes.
Whether it's physical abuse or mental abuse. And yes, women can physically abuse men too. I know a lot of people understand that already. And it's really just kind of like, murder bad kind of thing saying that. But
it needs to be said, because I brought up Terry Crews and how Terry Crews got ridiculed publicly on every single talk show he went afterwards, basically, when he said he suffered sexual abuse from a woman. It was unwanted. And there's another clip going around. I'm sorry for jumping. TikTok sometimes gets TikTok. And honestly, I go on TikTok because some of the shit is funny on there. But there was one clip rolling around. I don't even know if it was TikTok. It might have been like a Facebook story thing. But there was like a Gaston character at Disney. And a girl, fairly attractive, a girl goes up to him and just starts groping his chest. And he flat out grabs her and is like, no, get out of here. You're gone. And she's like trying to joke. He's like, no, leave. And like, he's like kicks her out and she's like flabbergasted. And at the end, you hear him say, there's children here. And it's like, and that's like kind of the leeway. And again, it's with the same type of thing with the abuse and stuff like that. Like, and no one bats an eye to that. That's the fucked up part. And it goes on with the Terry Crews and the sexual abuse. She sexually harassed that man. It's on screen. He did not like it. He told her to go. And what do we get? We get a video about it. If a guy walked up to a chick in a Belle costume or even a Jasmine costume, which is more exposed, and just goes and starts not even grabbing her boobs or butt, just starts rubbing her stomach because it's flat or perfect, right away, that guy's actually going to get arrested and charges pressed on him. It's just, in our society, but the left really wants to burn down what they call toxic masculinity while expecting it to be an uneven playing field at the same exact time. Like that's what they want. It's what they've been achieving. They've been actively achieving because masculinity is a bad thing now. But I don't know if that goes a little off topic, but it does a little bit, but it kind of just goes to, like you said, men can be abused in all the same which ways that women can. And it needs to be recognized. And this case is kind of bringing light to that.
Yeah. And honestly, I will say statistically, probably statistically, do not act like I'm saying this definitively, but most likely men physically abuse women more, especially in domestic partnerships, and most likely women mentally abuse men more in domestic partnerships.
I don't know if statistics would support that because I don't think men report it. Either way, I don't think men report it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But I'm just saying generally, it seems like that's how it would flow, at least. But overall, what I just want to say about this is, I know I hit it before. Make sure you understand how you want to be treated. If someone is good at first and then bad later, and then they're good again, that doesn't mean that they're good all the time. You had unless a person is actively working to be better, it's not going to get any better. In fact, it's probably going to get worse.
That may be a good street interview, Dave. If we just go on the street in like New York City and just interview, that's been come all the craze where people just random interviews and ask ridiculous questions.
Men on the street.
Yeah, but and a lot of people are mimicking it. But just ask both men and women, have you ever hit a significant other in anger? And just see how many say yes. And I'm telling you right now, that would skew significantly towards women saying yes.
Yeah,
because
I mean, probably publicly, yes, I would say that.
Women,
So at least specifically publicly.
but that would go to show even more though, because women, it's okay for a woman to slap a guy. But right now, if a woman slaps a guy in public, he was probably asking for it. That is kind of like the connotation there. He probably did something to deserve that. She abused that guy. She struck him. It's and if a guy goes off and just backhands a girl, what did he do to her? It's always.
Yeah. Funny enough, this could play into another topic that we're not talking about tonight, and we won't talk about tonight because I feel like we should finish this up soon.
Soon, yes.
But it actually flows into another topic of, well, why do we think that way? Because biologically, women are not as strong as men. So
what's a woman, Dave?
If a woman,
you're not a biologist.
Exactly. But if a woman is going to slap a guy, one, most likely probably won't even hurt like that badly. Also, two, it just doesn't mean as much as a man putting his hands on a woman, because he could do damage in a quicker fashion, usually, than a woman can on a man. And we instinctually know this.
Thanks for getting us
what
canceled,
we like
Dave.
to try to say. Yeah. But like what we try to say now to I guess, be empathetic, even though it's not. But we instinctually know that. Like I said, I don't want to get too far off topic, but it's just funny because that plays into that as well.
Completely and totally. So yeah, Dave, let's wrap this up. You said you're on Johnny Depp's side. From everything I've seen, I'm certainly on Johnny Depp's side. From just watching him listening to that audio recording and just hearing Johnny Depp stutter as he speaks. The man has been in a ton of movies. He's done a shit ton of interviews. I have never in his career, my life, and I think his career has basically spanned most of my life, I have never seen the man stutter before at all. And he is actively stuttering when he is recounting the things going on. Like it's tough to see. And now this is 2 straight men in a row that in Hollywood that we have seen being broken and become shells of themselves between Will Smith and Johnny Depp because of the relationships that they were in. It's tough to watch. It is tough to watch. It's tough to watch anybody go through that, male or female. But I guess, again, instinctually, men are supposed to be strong and they're not supposed to show this type of outward shit. And it shows. Johnny Depp's trying to put on a tough face. You could see it, but he can't. He physically can't. It's difficult to watch. And, take what Dave says seriously, though. And I agree with him on everything. Just look at what's going on. If you're a guy being mentally abused, if you're, more guys being mentally abused, if she finds a way, if you have a legitimate gripe with your significant other and you take it up with her, and instead of actually embracing in that gripe and trying to figure that out, or even arguing it, don't shy away from arguments. Arguments are actually healthy in a relationship. They shouldn't rise to a certain level, but some arguments are good. You want to argue because if you're fighting with your significant other and actually trying to work towards a solution, that means you both give a shit enough about each other to figure out the problem. But if you are engaging in something legitimate, not something petty and stupid, relationship, there's a bunch of nothing fights that occur. But if you're actually engaging in something important to the relationship and your significant other automatically turns around and starts to blame you for something that's not relevant to it at all, then there might be something wrong there. Look for that. That's a red flag. If they cannot embrace you on a certain level, they have no respect for you, then they only want to control you at that point. That is a control thing. They don't want to admit fault. And don't get me wrong, nobody wants to admit fault. And you might be in a relationship where your significant other doesn't specifically say they're sorry, doesn't specifically admit fault, but when they are admitting their fault in their way. It is difficult. But if they are sitting there and trying to work towards a solution with you about problems, then that is a good thing. If they are just trying to manipulate the situation to their benefit, to make you the person that's wrong and they are the victim at all times, then you need to get the fuck out of there. That is not a good thing. And it is probably, and if you could constantly have to bow and take the brunt of it, you're probably in an abusive relationship, male or female. So, Dave, I like that topic. It was a good topic. Do you have anything to conclude on this so we can jump out of here?
Yeah, everything you said was good. I just want to say, I don't want to act like we're saying this and saying like any of this is easy. None of this is easy. Even recognizing it and then leaving, whether it's in a physically abusive or mentally abusive relationship, it's not easy. But it's something you have to identify if it is happening. And don't be paranoid, obviously, but if it is happening, identify and move on from there. Not easy. Talk to people about it. But yeah, I really want to do this topic because I feel like no matter what time, it's all right to talk about it.
Yeah. And if you think it's happening, bring it up. Because if it isn't, and it really isn't, and your significant other gives a shit, you'll work through it and it'll be so much easier on your mind afterwards because you'll realize it was in your head. And that happens too. We get in our own fucking heads. It's normal. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I hope you enjoyed the topic, not necessarily politics, a little bit more psychological. And no, David and I, neither of us are psychologists, so I guess we don't count as much as we're not biologists, so we don't know actual genders or sex or anything. We don't know shit. But if you just liked our words and what we said, definitely give like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars. If you're on Spotify and iTunes, and I apologize for saying if you like our words, I hate fucking people that put words in whatever publication in their profiles. I think they're fucking stupid. So I apologize for stepping down to dumb world. But if you did like the show, word of mouth, spread it. Find us on social media at the Alex Cuestas Show, and hope for some consistency coming out of me. If not, you'll see me with David again sometime next week. Who knows? Potluck, people. You never know what you're going to get. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. So long, y'all.